This is where you're going to get Stellar Lumens XLM news. To help this channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. This article is by Stellar Development Foundation, and a link to this article can be found below this video. Early Tuesday morning, the Stellar Development Foundation's Validator nodes temporarily stopped validating transactions on the Stellar network. At the same time, because of the same issue, SDF Public Horizon API instance also temporarily went down. We are happy to report that both the SDF nodes and the Public Access Horizon are now back online. During the entirety of the SDF node downtime, the Stellar network remained online. There were enough validators available to securely process transactions, which is just the way a decentralized network is intended to work. And many of those validators continued to publish archives that keep track of ledger history, and that allow the halted nodes to fill in gaps when they need to recover from downtime. SDF engineering team worked quickly to resolve the situation by bringing new nodes and a new Horizon instance online. However, they continue to investigate the source of the issue. The following FAQ answers what we know so far, and we will update it as more information becomes available. We are still debugging and are honing in on the root problem. We have narrowed the trigger down to a single ledger and to a single operation in that ledger. The investigation is ongoing, and we will continue to share new information as we have it. While certain nodes, including those run by SDF and Lobster, encountered the same issue, again, we are still figuring out why that's the case. But because there is sufficient validator redundancy, the network continued to function as normal despite the temporary unavailability of SDF infrastructure. While we realize this was inconvenient for organizations that rely on public network access, it also demonstrates that the Stellar network persists independent of SDF validators. How was the issue discovered? At 8:20 UTC, our Stellar Ops infrastructure monitoring, which consists of RunScope and Prometheus alerts, fired an alert to our on-call ops team. They immediately began to investigate the alert, realized there was a problem with the SDF validators, and began to contact the rest of the ops team as well as the ops teams for other Tier 1 validators. How long were your nodes offline? Initially, SDF focused its efforts solely on locating the root cause of the halt before opting to spin up new validators and a new Public Horizon API to more immediately resolve the issue while seeking in parallel to identify its origin. We were able to get the validators and the new API up and running within an hour once we opted to create that solution. But the total downtime lasted for about 10 hours. SDF-free validator nodes and SDF Public Horizon API instance were back online at 18:28 UTC. What did SDF do to resolve the problem? As soon as our node monitoring system alerted us to the problem, SDF engineers started working to isolate the cause. They dug into the log files and started comparing what they found in SDF logs to information gleaned from other validators. Once they identified the problematic ledger, they split up into two teams to cover more ground. One to debug and find the root cause of the problem, one to spin up new validator nodes and a new Horizon instance to sub in for the affected infrastructure. As mentioned above, the investigation into the root cause is still ongoing, but at this point the new validators are up, and you can access horizon.stellar.org to submit transactions just as you did before this temporary disruption. We are currently working with organizations throughout the ecosystem to inform them that the public infrastructure is once again available and to ensure that their validators are still in sync with the network. How much has the network slowed? The network did not slow down. Validators that stayed in sync continued to process operations and close ledgers until the 5 seconds without disruption. However, some nodes, including those run by SDF and Lobster, cease to process transactions for about 9 hours. If you access the network via one of the affected nodes, you were not able to access the network to submit transactions during that time. If, however, you rely on one of the many unaffected nodes, your network access continued unabated. Is there data missing from the ledger from the time the nodes were offline? Because the network remained online, validators continued to securely process transactions even though the SDF Horizon instance was temporarily unavailable. While there are gaps in the SDF knowledge of the ledger history, we can fill them in by looking at the archives maintained by many other organizations, specifically the other Tier 1 organizations which publish the full network history for exactly this purpose. We are currently working to retroactively index approximately 43 ledgers, about 5 minutes of history from that time period into SDF Public Horizon to ensure all Horizon users can view the full historical ledger record. We'll keep you updated as we progress. The Stellar network technically stayed online, but many transactions were disrupted. Did this impact exchanges for withdrawals? Out of an abundance of caution, several centralized crypto exchanges decided to pause XLM deposits and withdrawals while our engineers worked to get the free public SDF network access points back online. We are communicating with those exchanges directly and have notified them that they can once again access the infrastructure we provide. Do you know how many transactions were halted from organizations that rely on SDF public infrastructure access points? Stellar is open participation. Anyone can build on it, and anyone can submit transactions to the network. Because the SDF does not control access to the network, and we don't have insight into the internal accounting of all the various organizations that use it, there's not really a way for us to get complete or reliable information about who decided to halt transaction submission. However, we have been in communication with the ecosystem about the situation and continue to work with affected organizations to make sure they can continue to access Stellar on behalf of their customers. Thanks for watching, and to my subscribers, thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time.